Nano Machine. Bai, Anhongweolja. Chapter 294. Yongho Family. Part 1. Gamrosu screamed furiously as she choked Hingwenja's neck, but no one stopped her. They all understood her fury as they all heard the truth. But soon, the act began to go out of control. Gamrosu was pressing on the weak point of the neck. "You call yourself a monk? Kayak. No, he'll die." Hingwenja's face was turning purple, so Yoan walked forward to stop her. He didn't even ask any questions to Hingwenja yet. "Godly doctor. Stop. Aowa." But Gamrosu couldn't hear anything and kept on choking Hingwenja. She was well built with large muscles, so her choke wasn't something that Hingwenja, who had lost internal energy and was in a serious state, could withstand. His eyes were now rolling backward. "She won't stop." Yoan reached out, and Gamrosu's body was thrown to the back by powerful energy force pulling him away. Fourth elder Yang Danwa quickly ran behind to catch her in the air. But Gamrosu did not stop from frantically trying to fight back. "Let me go. That bastard, my granddaughter." "Relax. Calm down, Granny Gam." It was obvious that she couldn't forgive the man who lied to her over a year, when her granddaughter was left with the infamous pirates, the 18 river families of the Yellow River. "Hosangwa, take the godly doctor out of the room." "Yes, sir." Hosangwa took Gamrosu out of the room. Yoan then asked dying Hingwenja to get some answers while he could. NGH. What is the purpose of the Blue Sky Brotherhood? Hingwenja let out a heavy breath as he spoke. Blue Sky Brotherhood, only wants the world to walk the path of justice. NGR. And with the lack of oxygen and heavy blood loss, Hingwenja died before he could even finish answering the question. "Damn it." Yoan placed his hands over Hingwenja's head and chest. A low volt of electricity came out of his hand. Hingwenja's heart stopped, but Yoan was trying to see if he could bring him back to ask at least a few more questions. But there was no use. Hingwenja already died and his body was now becoming rigid. Yoan regretted allowing Gamrosu to ask first. He wanted to find out what this secret brotherhood was all about, but it was too late. Phew. I hope the godly doctor knows something about them at least. It was no use if he regretted it. He now just hoped that the godly doctor, who once worked with the brotherhood, knew something about them. But a doctor choking a monk with fury? Yoan felt weird when he thought about what he had just seen. This was the first time he came out of the cult. After seeing all that happened here, he came to a thought that all people, whether they were cultists or from the forces of justice, or killers or doctors, there wasn't much difference between them after all. Are we all just the same humans after all? Maybe the only difference was between ideals and goals. Yoan thought there was something more significantly different between people from each group, but it was now going away. "My lord." That's when Moha walked up to Yoan. She brought out some pieces of paper that was burned in most places. Some were burned too severely that it was not even recognizable. "What is this?" "I found Hingwenja burning this when I got to him." When Moha took out these pieces of paper, Yang Danwa walked up to them and spoke. "Isn't that the book that the godly doctor had been searching for?" They knew that Gamrosu was frantically searching for a certain book. All they heard was that it was created with some unique paper. This, sure is unique. It was a piece of burnt paper, but it was much thicker and slicker than regular paper. "It's so smooth." "What is this?" Yoan took it into his hand and Nano's voice answered. "Program is locked. Cannot analyze the material or year of creation." This was similar to when Yoan asked if Nano could be transferred over to another body to heal. It had been a long time since Nano mentioned locks on certain information. "It's strange, On the back, there was a piece of paper with some writing on it. The area around it was burned, but about 3 lines were legible. The problem was that it wasn't the usual characters that Yoan could read. It looked a bit more simplified. "Nano, is this also locked?" "This is a simplified Chinese character." "Simplified?" "It is created to easily write the traditional characters." "How is it created?" "There is a lock on the program for that specific information." "Can you tell me what it says then?" "Yes, master." Translating. "It is mistake that I went after him. He was surely an origin of the demonic cult. My greed had failed me. I should have stuck to my original plan to go to the demonic." End of translation. The latter part was burnt. Yoan became surprised when he heard it. What did it mean? He heard that the treasure godly doctor held was the schematic in creating the extreme martial art. But the writing he just read was more like a journal. Origin of the demonic cult? Is this talking about Father Chunma? That was the logical explanation for such a title. It seemed that the man who wrote this tried to attack Father Chunma but failed. After a long thought, Yoan remembered the trace of the extreme art of the blade god under the cliff. Oh, maybe the one who wrote this is the founder of the blade god's 6 martial clan. Now, every finding began to fit with each other like a puzzle. The founder of the blade god's 6 martial clan also created the schematic of the extreme martial body, and in a mysterious way, Gamrosu's ancestor had taken it. But Yoan couldn't figure out what the script was trying to say. Maybe his original plan was to attack the cult itself instead. It was a shame that the latter part was all burned down. This wasn't much help as the remaining pieces were burned severely so nothing was recognizable. This is no use. He tried to destroy it rather than having it fall to others. Hingwenja's decision was a logical decision for the Blue Sky Brotherhood, as if he had not done that, the book would have been in the hands of the demonic cult. Yoan then gave the pieces of paper pack to Moha. There's no use. Return this back to the godly doctor. I will question remaining 2 and we will leave. Get ready. Yes, my lord. Chapter 295. Yongho Family. Part 2. Everyone shouted at Yoan's order. After an hour, Yoan questioned both masked men in 2 rooms. Unlike Li Beck, these warriors did not know any vital information. All they knew was who their leader was, and they were trained outside the home of the Blade God's 6 martial clan, so they did not know anything about them. That's why they don't have any protection on them. These people didn't have weird centipedes or anything like that either. It was likely as they did not know anything anyway. It was a shame, but Yoan had to satisfy what he found out. After the questioning was done, Yoan and his members finished returning. Their original purpose was to find the godly doctor and the missing special expedition team, and so all they had to do was return to the demonic cult. And when they were about to leave the mansion, the godly doctor called out to Yoan. My rescuer. She bowed down with a grim look to apologize. Please forgive me for my foolish action. She was talking about bringing Hingwenja to his early death. If she kept her anger in control, Yoan would have been able to gather more information from him. But what's done was done. Don't mind it. Yoan then turned cold, and Gamrosu immediately knelt with her both knees. Yoan raised his eyebrows. From what he knew about this old woman, it was likely that she would ask for a serious request. Of course, he had a guess as to what the doctor was trying to ask him to do. Her granddaughter was a captive at the 18 River families for over a year. It was certain that she would be concerned. I know I am not in a position to ask, but I have to ask you to help me. Tears ran down her wrinkly face. He felt sympathetic to see such an old woman crying like this. My granddaughter is being held by the pirates of the Yellow River. It's been already a year. I can't let that go on. I knew it. As Gamrosu continued, everyone frowned. They already used too much time at the lands of the forces of justice. But if they were to now move on to the lands of the forces of evil, it was likely that they would be spotted. Please help this helpless grandmother find her granddaughter. Gamrosu asked for sympathy to try to get help. She thought if Yoan and others had at least a little bit of sympathy, he would help. But that was the wrong move. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. Gamrosu became grim from the unexpected refusal. She did not expect that Yoan would refuse right away. That's not something we should deal with. All of Yoan's members shared the same idea. They were sympathetic of what Gamrosu was going through, but it didn't mean they had to risk their lives in order to help. Besides, she already promised that she would go treat Chun Yuzhong when she was allowed to ask the question to Hingwenja. No. They are too cold. Gamrosu frowned at Yoan and the group's solemn answer. It looked like she wouldn't get any help at this rate. Let's go now. Yes, master. And no. Gamrosu then banged her head on the ground and quickly shouted. If you rescue my granddaughter, I will serve you as my master forever. Everyone became shocked. What Gamrosu just said wasn't a simple matter. It was the godly doctor herself, claiming that she would serve them in exchange. The value of the godly doctor, known to heal every injury and disease, was huge. If she was putting herself as a bargaining chip, then it was well worth it. Please. Her back shook from the hope of being helped. If Yoan was to refuse even then there was no way for her to get her granddaughter back. My lord. This is a great opportunity. Yang Danwa sent a telepathic message with an excited look. It had a risk, but it was a risk worth taking if this was the case. Yoan raised his hand to signal him to remain calm. Godly doctor pledging allegiance. Yoan thought for a moment. His cold heart didn't move at the sympathetic approach, but this bargain was something worth considering. It seemed it was good for either Yoan or the demonic cult. His thoughts didn't last long. Ah! Gamrosu's body was immediately brought up by strong energy force. She looked up and Yoan warned her with low voice. I hope you don't forget what you just promised. Ah! My rescuer. She began to weep with joy. She was concerned that her last resort would fail, but it had been accepted. It is as you said, Lieutenant Hu. What? Hu Bong asked back curiously at Yang Danwa's sudden words. Yang Danwa Logib. We will get to see the pirates after all. Ah, you're right. They were now bound to fight against pirates of the Yellow River. Gamrosu wept for a while and later asked carefully. I am sorry, but I have not learned the name of my rescuer yet. Please, tell me your name. She did not know anything about the man other than that he was the master of all others. Yoan then spoke to Gamrosu. I am Chun Yoan. Chun Yoan? It was familiar. The name of Chun was very rare within the Jianghu anyway. That's interesting, but the name sounds. Chun Yoan, wait. Gamrosu's eyes grew large as she remembered what she overheard when warriors from the forces of justice a while ago. And new Lord of the demonic cult? Everyone knew that the Lord of demonic cult recently changed, and the forces of justice also knew this very well. So I just promised that I will serve the Lord of the demonic cult? Chun Yoan's group was now going south horseback. As they rode down to the south, Yoan asked Yang Danwa, do you know where this Yongho family is at? Yoan had learned many information about important organizations and groups of the Jianghu when he left, but the 18 river families were among those who didn't have a definite location. I do not know, sir. They couldn't search through every pirate base. Yoan seemed to be concerned and Yang Danwa laughed. Don't worry, master. I do not know, but I know someone who does. Chapter 296. Yongho Family. Part 3. In the deep forest, about 10 miles away from the Sword Creek, men who hid their faces under bamboo hats were running through the forest. They all had dark clothing, but they had striking blue sashes on their waists that stood out. And as they ran, the one in front suddenly stopped. Master, what is it? With the man stopping, over 30 men that followed came to a stop and one of them asked the man at the front. I smell blood in the area. Blood? They couldn't smell anything. The man then began to walk towards some direction and as they walked in further into the bush, they found something hidden beneath. Oh, there was a trace of a big fight within the bushes and trees. It was hidden, but the fight seemed to be too severe that not all of it was disposed. There were over tens of trees that were cut down from the fight also. It's a fight between superior master-level warriors. Traces of energy left by superior master-level warriors lingered for a long time. The energy that was left within these traces was evidence of the huge fight. Dig up that place. Yes, master. There was a certain part of the ground that looked like its dirt had been stacked artificially. As the men went on to dig it up, they saw a pair of arms and legs within the dirt. Huh? These are a monk's clothes. Arms and legs had pieces of its clothes still intact, and they were a part of monk robes. There weren't any other body parts, so it was likely that the body was either thrown elsewhere or taken away. The only monk they knew who could fight was one person. One of the Strong Nine, and the elder of the mutant clan. Hing Wenjie. There must be a problem. The man who was called Master was certain that something happened. As he thought he should go to Sword Creek quickly, another man called out to him. Master. There is a sign here. Sign? The man was standing by a certain large tree. About 4 meters up, there was writing that was carved out by a sword. It was a secret sign for them. The man knew this sign as they were from the same blue sky brotherhood that symbolized this sign. One of the men quickly climbed up the tree as they found something hidden by the tree branch. It was a book that was created with unique slick paper. We have found this up on the tree. What is this? First half of the book seemed to be ripped apart, and only the latter half was intact. The first page had the drawing of a human body. This was the treasure that Godly Doctor searched for, and Hing Wenjie hid it. The Yulin 3 power division was maintained for over hundreds of years. Yulin clan of the Forces of Justice, Alliance of the Forces of Evil, and the Demonic Cult. These 3 groups divided the region of Yulin into 3. West was the home of the Forces of Evil, whereas the north was occupied by the Yulin clan, and the Demonic Cult stayed behind in the south. And when these 3 warring factions fought each other, there was one place that was usually kept quiet. It was the city of Meking. It was a location where 3 regions met, where no forces took over. This was a neutral place, but not for the purpose of peace. It was only kept neutral because of the power balance that maintained between those 3. Look at those people. I think they are from the Forces of Evil. Look at that scar. Whoa. Hubong spoke erratically as Baki shook his head. It was normal to see many warriors from the forces of evil, as they were at the border of the three factions. Hubong pointed out was people with many scars. Baki also had a scar over his eyes, but it looked like a scratch compared to them. Be quiet, stop trying to gain attention. Okay. Hubong became depressed by Baki's words. It was understandable that Hubong would get excited for coming into such big city for the first time, but he still talked too much. If Munku was here also, Baki would have gone mad from two of them talking endlessly. At least Munku wasn't with them. Master, this way please. They were being led by 4th Elder Yang Danwa. Only 4 of them came down to the city of Meking. Chen Yoan, Hubong, Baki and Yang Danwa. Yoan figured their destination could be more dangerous, so Yoan ordered women to escort the godly doctor to the outpost of the demonic cult located at northwestern side of Honam Castle. The 18 river families keep changing their base, so it will take time for us to find the Yongho family ourselves. It's better we ask those who will know. The reason why they came down to Meking City was because it was city located near the Yellow River. They also had heard a rumor about pirates of the 18 river families often visit this city. Back alley? Yang Danwa, however, was moving into the back alley of Meking City. The further they moved in, the darker and creepier the city looked. Hey, we have a fresh liquor today. Come have a drink. Oh, mister. Don't you want to join me on a night of pleasure? There were a lot of prostitutes and liquor sellers calling out on the street. Most of the customers that roamed the streets looked like bandits or ruffians. Did you see that? Look at that woman. I can see her breast dash. Hubong, please. Bah. Don't pretend you're not interested. Baki shook his head with frustration. But thanks to Baki, Hubong couldn't speak more than a few words each time. Ah. I miss Munku and Ko Wonger. They would have gladly talked things through with Hubong. But Yang Danwa was happy to have Baki with him, as it helped to quiet Hubong down. After walking along the alleyway for a bit, Yang Danwa pointed at a 4-story building bright with lights at a distance. It's that place, master. House of Osang. It was a place that sold liquor and hosted prostitution. There were women outside the building who wore racy dresses, trying to lure people in. It was curious if that was really an information selling place, but they decided to go in. As they got to the entrance, prostitutes got up to them with a red silk dress and tried to put their arms around Yoan's people. Oh, hey. Are you here to rest? Look at this handsome. I like his arm. Ugh. Baki became surprised and embarrassed when he felt big breasts of the prostitute touching his arm. Hubong cackled. Haha. See. You like it too? Oh, this short-haired man is with me. Ah. But Hubong too became embarrassed when a prostitute got to him. It felt even dizzy to be surrounded with this many women. That's when Yang Danwa spoke to them. We want a spot with 3 teacups. Chapter 297. Yongho Family. Part 4. Oh. All of the women became disappointed as they listened, and guided the group inside. It seemed like they didn't want to try to lure them anymore. The group was then guided to the 3rd floor. Unlike the 1st and 2nd floor where there were guests who drank liquor and wanted prostitutes, this floor had a heavier atmosphere. When they walked over, guests who were sitting down glanced over at them. They are all martial artists. All of them had weapons, but ranged from swords and blades to flails and other unique weapons. Sit here please. A server on the 3rd floor got to them and guided them into an empty spot. On the table, there was a pot and 3 teacups with 3 different colors. Please order and call again. When the server returned, Yang Danwa sent a telepathic message. My lord. This is the secret information selling place within Mekin City. You can consider it similar to the Hao family. There were many clans and families in Yulin, and some of them specialized in selling information. The forces of justice had the Gi merchant group while the forces of evil had the Hao family. But this place seemed like they only worked at Meking City. This region is neutral, so they are selling information to all 3 factions. Either the Hao family or the Gi merchant group did not sell their information outside their factions, yet this place was located in a neutral city, so they worked for everyone. Yang Danwa pointed at the 3 cups. These 3 cups showed the rank of information being asked for. Red was low, blue was middle and white was high rank. And what rank will our request fall under? My guess is in the middle. They were asking the location of one of the 18 river family, so it was not low-ranking information. The rank would increase if they were to ask the exact location of a certain person or object. What do we pay with? I usually pay them with money. But there are times when they require information in return. Yang Danwa never experienced being asked information, but he heard that it was the case. Yang Danwa then poured the tea into the blue cup. The server returned to check and exchanged telepathic messages with Yang Danwa, to listen to what kind of information that was being asked. Please wait here. The server then walked up back to the upper floor. Soon, he returned and spoke to them. I apologize, but I need to change your seating to the upper level. Upper level? Yang Danwa frowned. This was not the same reaction he experienced when he came last time. Normally, when the rank of the request was confirmed, it was a requirement to pay and the information was served along with food. Our owner wants to serve you himself. Owner? Something seemed a bit off, but Yoan nodded to signal agreeance and Yang Danwa nodded. The server then guided the party up. Yang Danwa had never gone to the 4th floor yet. I am sure that the 4th floor is only open to those who request high-ranking information. This is strange. Well, we have no other place to ask, so we'll see how it goes. Yoan responded as he didn't sense any potential threats nearby. All of the people inside were weaker than them, so there was no need to be afraid. As they walked up, there were many rooms and the server guided them into one. As they walked in, they were greeted into a lavishly decorated room with a middle-aged man with an eye patch on his right eye waiting for them. To his back, 2 burly guards were standing. The man got up and greeted them. Welcome. I am Nano, the owner of the Osang family house. I figured I would have to serve valuable customers myself. I didn't think I would meet the house owner. Thank you. Yang Danwa bowed to Mano, who offered them a seat, and they sat down. Yang Danwa then asked, "Why did you call us up here?" "I'm sure I only asked middle-ranking information." Mano then narrowed his eyes and spoke. "I'm sorry, but that information is ranked at top rank. Or, shall I say, it's a bit complicated?" "What do you mean?" Yang Danwa became confused and Mano laughed and took something out of his pocket. It had a certain seal that read 18. There are a lot who support us. This was given by one of our supporter. Do you recognize this supporter is? After looking at the word that read 18, Hubong mumbled. 18, wait. 18 river families? Haha. Yes, you are quick to notice, young man. Yang Danwa frowned. He didn't imagine the 18 river family to be one of the organizations that would support them. Mano continued, but we are open to selling the information we have. So, don't be disappointed. Question mark. If you promise that the reason you are searching their location is not to harm them, and also pay my price, I will tell you where. This meant that if Yoan's group wasn't trying to fight with the Yongho family, the information was open. Around the room, there were many signs of people gathering outside. There were more than 30 of them now. With enough people gathered, Mano got up and spoke. Yang Danwa, officer of the northern outpost of demonic cult. I heard you returned to the mountain of 10,000 recently. It seemed Mano knew who Yang Danwa was. He then pointed at Chun Yoan and spoke. Well, you must be a high-ranking individual in the cult, yet you escort that man with respect. I am very curious who that young man is. What did you say? It was Hubong and Baki who responded furiously. Manulugid. Oh? I thought you needed my information? I am just telling you my price. Yang Danwa frowned. What he was asking wasn't to get the information about Yoan. Instead, it was an act of refusal to the request. You have no choice but to give up on the information. Yoan, who were looking at Mano, who were looking at them triumphantly, spoke. Well, you must know where they are for sure then. What? Ugh. At that moment, Yoan reached out and gestured, pulling something, and the powerful force brought one of the guards from behind Mano into the air. Force energy. Yoan then grabbed the guard's neck when it was thrown toward him. Mano became shocked and shouted. What are you doing? I will talk with the owner. What? Yoan then clenched his hand and spoke. Arg. Don't pretend you're just a guard, Mr. Owner. Chapter 298. Yongho Family. Part 5. Mano, the manager of the Osang family house, became shocked. He was under orders from the owner to make up a reason for requesters to leave. They figured that if Yang Danwa, a high-ranking official of the cult, serving a man, then that person would be a really important figure of the cult. Then they were certain that asking the identity of such a man would make them leave. Ugh. They just thought Chun Yoan to be a mere young man, but it was wrong. If a warrior could use force energy, it proved that the warrior was really powerful. What? This man must be one of the leaders of the cult. If the opponent was a superior master-level warrior, there was no way they would be a match. They were trying to work things out for other important guests, but it didn't go as they planned. Don't pretend you're just a guard, Mr. Owner. What? How did he find out? Yoan's word was enough to shock the true owner of the Osang family, who was being held by Yoan on the neck. He had never revealed his true identity outside the house. But Yoan found out his hidden identity right away. He's the owner? Yoan's members also became shocked as they hadn't imagined it. But to them, they didn't see much difference in power between Nano or the real owner. They were both weaklings. No way. Nano thought he should try to weasel out, so shouted. What are you talking about? He's my guard warrior. Guard warrior? Don't lie. There were hostile energies coming from outside, and the warriors who were on standby ready to charge in at any moment. This wasn't a reaction if a mere guard warrior was being threatened. Owner. Nano sent a telepathic message to the owner, but there was no way for him to respond back as he was held by the neck. He's a monster. The owner was a master-level warrior, but he was like an insect compared to Yoan. If Yoan put in a bit of power into his grip, the man would die in seconds. This is out of our ability. We must apologize and send them back. The owner thought about many things in a short moment. It seemed like he had to do something so that there wouldn't be any more problems. And also it was a must that these people would not see other guests. Please. The owner tried to ask Yoan to let him go, but it sounded different than those who were on standby outside. Please, save me? Warriors of the Osang family immediately broke through the wall. Nano tried to stop them with shock, but it was too late. And warriors swung their weapon toward Yoan's members. But it was no use. Yang Danwa didn't even get up from his seat, and just used his finger to block their swords. The sword shattered as it struck against Yang Danwa. He broke the sword with his finger. There was no way a middle-level warrior could fight against a superior master warrior. The power difference was so huge that Yang Danwa did not even feel the need to get up. The strongest warrior that entered was at the top master level, so they couldn't even win against Hu Bang, who was the weakest among Yoan's group. Arg. Hu Bang didn't even use his sword as he just simply punched and kicked them away. Oh. Hu Bang was excited when he struck down these warriors with his bare hands. Hu Bang was already above the average warrior in terms of power compared to people in the entire Yulin, but there were just too many really powerful people around him that made him look weak. And after he went to the Sword Creek. What? Force Chi. Hu Bang's sword wielded blue light of energy on it and all warriors stopped. Force Chi was only used when the warrior was above Super Master level. They attacked Hu Bang because he looked weakest, but he was at the Super Master level warrior. Hu Bang had entered the Super Master level after he understood from the word written on Sword Creek stone. Are you going to continue? For your information, I'm the weakest in my group. Hu Bang spoke and all of them dropped their weapon in a sign of surrender. Yoan scoffed and released his grip from the man. The owner dropped and coughed for a moment and spoke politely. I am sorry to lie about my identity. I am dying of the Osang family house. I am Manager Nano. I am sorry. Nano also got down to his knees to apologize. They realized that Yoan's group wasn't a group that they can try to trick. It was better they beg and be spared. Yoan then asked them. You said the 18 River family support you? That is correct, sir. Then you must be working for them, I assume. And no. That's not it. We are partners for the benefit of each other. It is more like a... Dawing's head was stuck in the ground as Bakki banged it with his hand. Bakki then threatened to Dawing's ears. Don't try to play tricks on my master. Why yes, sir. Bakki threatened Dawing to not make things more unclear by playing word tricks. He didn't care what their relationship with the 18 River families was. Let me ask you. Where is the location of the Yongho family? That was the only thing Yoan wanted to know. But when he asked, Dawing became weird. It looked like something was wrong. There's something going on. Chapter 299. Yongho Family. Part 6. Yoan's guess was right. Yoan then heard Mano's telepathic message that was sent to Danning. Owner, I will make them go out of the VIP room. We might get in trouble if... No. They will not leave, you know this. These people are terrifying, but at least we can persuade these people. VIP room? Yoan had been tapping into the telepathic messages ever since he got here. From the conversation, it seemed there was a person that they feared in the VIP room. Dawing then looked up to Yoan and asked, Sir, can you please just go this time? What are you talking about? Yoan became curious about such a weird request at such a situation. The 3 monsters of Yellow River are here. 3 monsters? Please keep it down. Yoan had never heard of such a name. But Yang Danwa knew the name. It was the name of the 3 brothers who were infamous among members of the 18 River families. They were infamous because not only did they raid merchant ships, they killed every man and always kidnapped and raped women. They had bounties on their heads, but they still roamed freely at the city of Meking. Do you know them? Yes, master. The Gar brothers are very famous. Yang Danwa then explained what he knew about these three brothers. The important problem was not about their infamous actions, but their backgrounds. Their uncle is the leader of the 18 River family, Gar Mojam the Yellow River Strong. Gar Mojam the Yellow River Strong. He was one of the Strong Nine, and the fourth-rank leader of the Alliance of the Forces of Evil. Yoan knew the name also. There was also a rumor that it was his presence that allowed pirates to roam freely on the Yellow River without being arrested by the local government. But in truth, it was because of enormous bribery made by the 18 River families. So, they have backgrounds. Yes. Gar Mojam was famous for being evil and sadistic in nature, but was known for loving his brothers and families. There was an incident where Gar Mojam tracked down those who attacked the Bokping family that the three brothers were in, and wiped every one of related people. After that, it was rumored that no one should fight against the Gar brothers and the Bokping family. Sir. That's when Dang sent a telepathic message to Yoan. The Bokping family is our supporter. We give them information about merchant ships sailing through the river, and we are being protected by them in return. Dang then began to explain his side of the story. He glanced at the warriors around and continued. And, there are spies that are sent by Bokping family within us. Yoan became surprised. There was a reason why Dang was being so careful. There was a chance that a spy will turn him over if he made a mistake. It will be over for you if you get the information, but my and our family's life depends on them. Please consider. Three Monsters of Yellow River was famous for attacking anyone if they felt like it. When they usually came here, they stayed for 3 days at least to play and enjoy, and today was only the first day. And if something happened at the Yongho family, then it was likely for these brothers to accuse the Osang family house for selling that piece of information. Dang bumped his head to the ground and spoke. I am terribly sorry, but I cannot sell you the information. Sir, please. Help us. This was a gamble for him. He didn't know, but Yoan and Yang Danwa were probably important figures of the demonic cult. Cultists were also usually cold and merciless, but they were at least gentlemen compared to the three monsters of Yellow River, which consisted of pirates that took up killing and robbery as their bread and butter. Even if these people are from the demonic cult, they will understand us as we can't do anything to those Gar brothers. Dang thought that would be the case. But he didn't realize that Yoan's thoughts and actions weren't that anyone can predict. I see. I didn't imagine you would have such an issue. Are those Gar brothers downstairs? Oh. Yoan knew where these brothers were as he sensed them with his senses but asked anyway. Dang figured that Yoan understood his difficulties and was going to leave, so he answered brightly. Thank you for your consideration. Yes, they are residing in VIP room on the second floor. Yoan then turned against his members and ordered, Did you hear that? Hubong, Baki. Go down and bring those brothers up here. All people from the Osang family house became shocked. And as for Hubong and Baki, they didn't even hesitate for a second at the order and ran out of the room. Yes, master. W what? Yes sir. You just said you will help us. Me? Help you? I don't recall saying that. Dang frowned at Yoan's cold reply. Yoan was right that he never said he would help Dang or do anything in his favor. Dang then spoke frantically. What are you trying to do? This. At that moment, Yoan reached out and twisted his hand. With that, one of the warriors standing by the wall had his neck snapped and fell to the ground. Chapter 300. Yongho Family. Part 7. Ugh. With a warrior dying instantly from his neck being snapped, people within the room became shocked. Yichang. Yichang. A warrior with a beard who stood next to the man quickly went down to check, but spoke with a pale face. He's dead. Hike. Just with a flick of a hand? Every person within the room became pale from terror. They knew that Yoan was a powerful warrior when he used the force energy, but they didn't imagine he would be so much more powerful that he could kill a man from a distance with the mere gesture of a hand. He's not like any warrior. That young man was a warrior of another level, and as they realized this, everyone became so terrified that they couldn't even breathe. W what? Dang and Nano, however, were more frustrated than terrified. They couldn't predict what Chun Yoan was even thinking. Damn it. Gosen is dead. We might die at this rate. I'm sorry to the Gar brothers, but we should escape. And with the sound of the telepathic message, Yoan turned into a smile. Found it. What? Yoan then reached his two hands out and gestured of pulling it toward him, and two warriors who were focusing energy into their feet to run away were pulled forward, sending them down into the ground. Ugh. I can't move. They tried to stand up, but powerful energy pressed them down so that they couldn't move. And in the next moment, their necks were snapped just like the other warrior and died. Dawing was shocked when he saw the faces of these two dead men. These two and another man that died just before were the spies that were sent by Gar. Brothers. The Osang family house already identified who spies were within them. How can this be? How did he find out these spies? It was beyond just disbelief to see such a thing. There was no prior information, and Yoan would have seen them for first time. Then how did Yoan manage to find these people out? That's when Dawing heard Yoan's telepathic message. Do you have any more spies? And no, sir. It took a month of investigation for Dawing to find 3 spies among them. But Yoan only took minutes. He then did not even hesitate in killing these men. Who is this man? Dawing now became really curious about the identity of this man. That's when someone began to come up the stairs. As they turned at the entrance, Baki and Hu Bong walked in, dragging 3 naked men in their 30s behind them. They really brought them here. Oh no. They were the Gar brothers. They had been enjoying their time with prostitutes just until a while ago, so they were all naked and drunk. Their bodies were bruised up and also had their blood points sealed, so they couldn't move nor talk. We are back, master. And no. This has gone too far. Dawing became grim at the sight of 3 brothers being dragged up here. If they were dragged up in that state, then there was no going back now. They couldn't say anything with their blood points sealed, but their body was reddened from rage. Why are you doing this? I told you that our house depends on. Dawing sent a telepathic message quickly to Yoan, but Yoan just answered it through his mouth. Why would I care about your house? What? Yoan did not care about the existence of the house. Whatever the case, Yoan only cared if the matter was related to himself. Sir? That is your business, not mine. Damn it. Dawing then realized he had made a bad decision. This man was worse than the 3 brothers. The Gar brothers were at least manageable if they were given what they wanted. But a man like Yoan was a type that could never be managed. This is dangerous. I might lose everything at this rate. Yoan then walked up to the man on the left, among 3 brothers, and unsealed him. With the 3rd brother Garin now free to talk, he spat with rage. You, motherfucking bastard. Do you know who I am? Let me go, you f***ing, shut up. Ugh. Hu Bong became angry and struck Garen's head from behind. How dare you say in such a way? You want to die? Hu Bong was okay with most of the other things, but he couldn't bear speaking ill of his master Chun Yoan. Garen became dumbfounded and glared, but he couldn't move his neck, so he was just looking at the ground instead of turning his neck around to glare at Hu Bong. King. He didn't stop cussing. These were men who took up robbery, kidnapping, murder, and rape as their daily job, so they were very rough in every way. Yoan then spoke to them coldly. I don't care who you are. Let me ask you one thing. If you don't answer, I will cut off your head. What? All 3 brothers became shocked when they heard this. They had seen many bold enemies until now, but it was the first time that they were being threatened with their lives. Most enemies they met were fearful of their uncle, Gar Mojum. Garin then shouted to Dawing. Didemi. Hey, Dawing. What the *CK are you doing? Are you going to leave these bastards like? Kill him. With Yoan's order, a blade shot through Garen's neck. It was Yang Danwa with his blade. Lick. Garen's head was cut down and blood began to pour out from the neck. The 2 other brothers were drenched with the blood of their 3rd brother. Brother. Chapter 301. Yongho Family. Part 8. He cut his head off. With warm blood covering their naked bodies, the 2 brothers shook with fear. They were more terrified than becoming enraged by the death of their brother. If you speak foolishly, you will also die. Yoan spoke coldly as he looked down at the other 2 with an emotionless face. And Yang Danwa moved his blade across the ground, making a shrieking sound as if he was threatening them, just like an executioner. The 2 brothers became pale. From fear. This bastard will really kill us. We might even die. They finally realized the gravity of the situation. They realized that there was no way this man would stop just because of their uncle. What have we done? As for Dawing and Nano, they couldn't even think straight as they looked at the head of Garin rolling on the ground. Things had gone too far and there was no going back. Yoan then went over to the 1st brother, Gar Mao, to make him talk. Where is the Yongho family? Tell me their location. Why Yongho family? Garmo became surprised when he was asked about Yongho family instead of his Bokping family. But these men would surely attack the Yongho family if he told them their location. What should I do? They were pirates, but the most important rule of the 18 river families was to never betray each other. But Garmo thought lying might cost his life. After going through many thoughts in a short moment, Garmo chose to betray his fellow pirates. If you go out east and follow the river about 50 miles down, you will reach Doman Mountain. And by the corner where the river splits, you will find them. Garmo revealed the location of Yongho family. Fellow pirates were important, but his own life was more important than that. Yoan then turned to Dang and Dang nodded with a grim look, confirming the information to be the truth. There was no need to ask them. Yoan's original plan was to kill these three brothers and make Dang tell him the location of Yongho family, but he got the answer before that. Garmo then looked up to Yoan and begged. Please let me live. I told you what you wanted to know. You are mistaken. ? Since when did I say I'd let you live? What? Garmo's face turned pale. He sold his fellow pirates, so he thought he could live. But, kill them all. Why you ba? With Yoan's order, Yang Danwa immediately sliced his head. Garmo died not even realizing he was killed. There was no promise given from the beginning. Yoan did not like leaving potential threats. If they were to survive, it was likely that they would go to Garmojim and tell him what happened. You are the last. Yang Danwa then swung his blade on the last brother. And second brother Gartek was killed without even getting a chance to speak. It seemed he was too terrified by watching his two brothers being killed, as he peed before he died. This is the demonic cult. These people have no mercy. And all others from the Osang family house were too terrified from what they just witnessed. They did hear that the demonic cult was more cruel and merciless in some way, but they now witnessed it with their own eyes. Dang then looked at Yoan with a fearful look. Yoan had acquired the information he wanted, so maybe it was their turn now. But, let's go. Yes, master. Yoan ordered and began to leave. Ashu? Why? Chun Yoan didn't seem to be interested in them anymore. Dang became dumbfounded as they were leaving the room, and suddenly asked, why are you letting us live? He was curious. He couldn't understand why the man who would even kill Gar brothers would not kill them. It seemed better if the man killed them to remove any spill of information. Yoan stopped and answered. Didn't you tell me where the Gar brothers were yourself? You and I are on the same team. I only helped you. What? That's nonsense. Well, I got the information I need, so I paid my price. Dang became shocked when Yoan said that he had given help. If the spies were alive, it might have been more dangerous, but the spies were all dead. He just changed his mind. Fortunately, it seemed Yoan was considering the information he got from the Gar brothers to be given by the Osang family house. Dang sighed in relief. Yoan then laughed and spoke to Dang. Oh, and just for your information, you have one more spy within your family. I'm sure you can take care of that yourself. Dang's eyes then grew large with shock. What? There's one more? He thought 3 people that Yoan killed were all of them, but if there was one more hidden, then this was really bad. If Yoan found 3 spies immediately, then it was likely that Yoan knew the existence of another spy. And if Dang did not find this spy, then it was likely that the message will go to Garmojim, eventually killing Dang. He had to find the spy. Nobody leaves this room. What? Dang ordered every warrior within the room to not leave as Yoan and his members left. As they got out of the building and walked the alleyway, Hubong asked Yoan, Master, how did you find another spy? Yoan then laughed, it's a lie. What? There are no more spies. No? But, oh. Chun Yoan's last warning was actually false. The Osang family house did not have any more spies. But Yoan's lie had put suspicion on everyone within that room. It's a great tactic, Master, Yang Danwa commented in amazement. This probably ensured that Dang and people within that house would grow suspicious of each other and not even think about doing anything else about Yoan and his members. Let's make haste. We will find the granddaughter of the godly doctor before midnight. Yes, Master.